Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All Too Real 2.
Well, ooh.
My name is Michael E. Coleman II, and with me, as always, is...
Matthew Loki Haas.
Should I trust you, then?
Probably not.
Alright. Well, that was our show, folks.
Yep. It's over.
Not going to do the show without a trustworthy co-host here, and...
I mean, it's... yeah.
When you can't trust your co-host, you can't even trust yourself.
Yeah. Well, Loki's not that I guess maybe a little bit, but
Well, he is the god of mischief.
Well, you could trust, yeah, that he's going to be mischievous, however you say that. But so there you go.
Yes, there you go. Are we having fun yet, Matt?
Yes. Yeah, we are.
All right, so today, if you haven't realized yet, which I hope you did, because usually, when you don't just stumble across a podcast, usually.
Right.
Usually you pick to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like when you're flipping through the channels of your TV and you somehow are watching Bishop Fulton Sheen at 2 a.m. But, this is where you purposely are listening to us review and talk about the Disney Plus Marvel series, Loki. We're going to talk about episode 1 here, entitled Glorious Purpose. Directed by Kate Herron. Herron. However that's pronounced. And written by Michael Waldron. Sorry, Kate. I didn't mean to butcher your name. I just don't know how to pronounce it. Hopefully by next week I will know how. Anyways, what is happening in this show here, Matthew?
So it kind of goes back to Endgame when they all go back to 2012 to retrieve the Tesseract, and Hulk ends up slamming through the doors, whatever, knocks everything over, and then Loki takes it and disappears, and then we show him he's in like the Gobi Desert or something like that. Very reminiscent of Iron Man when he's kind of laying in the sand and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He sees these people that are just who live there, and he's they're asking him who he is and stuff, and he can't really speak their language, so he's kind of just delivering his normal speech that he did, because this is 2012 Loki. This is not the
Loki
that we saw.
Wokey Loki. This is regular Loki.
Yeah, it's not woke Loki. God. Yeah, not the one that basically died to save his brother in the beginning of Infinity War. So this is the Loki that still had dreams of world domination and stuff like that. And he they don't understand what he's saying, and he's just kind of going into a speech, and then these people show up who are basically like time cops, essentially. They're there to basically make sure that the timeline is going, on the correct course that it's supposed to be going on. And, he's arguing with them and stuff like that, very arrogantly, because he's a god, and, they're mere mortals and stuff like that. And, the one time where she just slaps him across the face with this thing, and just like totally like puts time to like 1/16 of what normal time is, but he can still feel the pain in real time. So it's like he's literally feeling the pain of like a punch to the face in 1/16 time.
Yeah,
which is like really fucked up.
That was a really cool shot. I wonder how they did that. I mean, it's
no.
because I'm sure there's cameras out there that can shoot at 1/16. Like that would be like, because that'd be whatever. Like normally a per second, it's you shoot at 24 frames per second. So to get 1/16, you'd have to, I don't know. I'm bad at math, so whatever that would be, it would be
it's
like
a lot.
It'd be like thousands of frames per second. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, plus too, that would be, and that weapon got into the wrong hands. You could like use that to torture someone for like infinity. Like it's just terrible. But
or if
so she puts
or if it got into the right hands.
The right hands, yeah.
Or my left.
Yeah,
or my left hand.
then,
or my left hand.
Right.
No, left.
Okay.
Wait, no. Okay, go on. So then what happens? Sorry, Matthew.
She puts a collar. Yeah. She puts a collar over his neck, basically, and then takes him away, and then he ends up going through this whole process. This creepy robot basically just robes him and like twitches like his eye, which is really weird. And then he goes into like a jumpsuit. Basically goes to like a thing where he's got to sign a paper of every single thing he's ever said in his life. And like, everything's all analog, which is really weird too, because they're like supposed to be like the monitors of like all time, but like all the equipment they use is like from like the 1960s era type of stuff, which is weird. And then like, he says something, so then like another sheet of paper gets printed out of what he said. By the way, so Loki's like over 1,000 years old, and that stack of paper was not that big. I mean, how much have we talked in our life? I mean, like boxes upon boxes of paper. Like
maybe the print was really, really small.
Even then, I don't know. And then, but anyway, so he signs it, and then he goes to like this whole like sort of like orientation where like this like cartoon basically starts telling him like
Miss Minute.
That's like Miss Minute.
Yeah, voiced by Tara Strong, by the way, who's voiced thousands of cartoons over our lifetimes. So you've heard her at one point or another in your life, folks. So.
Yeah, exactly. So she goes through this whole orientation, like what this thing's called, a time variance. I forgot what the other TVA
authority.
Yeah, time variance authority that basically makes sure that the regular flow of time stays intact, because there actually used to be a multiverse, and that these universes were going into like war with each other, and it was creating all kinds of chaos, and then it all got fused into like one universe and one timeline, which is interesting that we're getting into multiverse now, which is
which they refer to
interesting to see how the show.
They also refer to it as the sacred timeline. So
yeah, this is the sacred timeline, that we have here, and then the time lords or time variants or whatever, it's their job to make sure that sacred timeline doesn't deviate in any way. And whenever it does, they just take the person. Either they take them back, or they just like dissolve them and kill them, or whatever. And we find out though that Loki here was specifically kind of sent here, on purpose, because the guy Owen Wilson, whose name is Mobius, by the way, which is interesting because in Endgame, Tony Stark figures out time travel by inverting a Mobius strip, so that's interesting right there. And
a Mobius strip is a one-sided strip of like DNA or other things, like depending on what it is, that when turned looks like two things. Just keep that in mind.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So he kind of basically like argues on his behalf, like we can use him for something else or whatever. So then he kind of takes him into his like interrogation room or whatever, and it's kind of.
By the way, sorry, I'm interrupting a little bit here, but the judge that he's in front of is named Ravana Renslayer, who is a character in the comic books who has a love affair with Kang the Conqueror.
Oh wow!
So, who people Kang the Conqueror has been cast for a future Marvel movie already, so
Really?
she could become important, and maybe he might show up in this series. We don't know though yet. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah.
And by the way, there is no Mephisto. Mephisto's not here. They made it very clear that Mephisto's not coming in this show. So
Unless they're lying to us.
unless they're lying to us, exactly. I kind of forgot too. So there was in the beginning, I think Mobius was so he's finding all of his people are getting killed when they're trying to catch a certain variant, and he's in some church in 1548 or something like that.
Yeah, in France.
In France, and there's a Joan of Arc kind of painting or stained glass, and then he talks to this girl to ask him, what happened. He kind of gives her a little game on his phone or whatever to kind of look at as he's talking to her, and he asked her, who did this, and she points to a thing of the stained glass of the devil, and then her mouth is all blue, and then finds out that the person gave her kablooey chewing gum.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, the devil bearing gifts, that's interesting. And then he basically, tells her that, he's, the devil is afraid of them, so he's going to go find them or whatever. And then,
yeah,
that's kind of what's going on, is that there's this other variant is killing all of the time cops, essentially.
Yeah,
he's trying to
Minutemen, as they're called.
That's right, Minutemen, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and also too, so when they reset the timeline, they put this little cool hourglass, not hourglass, but like a lamp or something.
Yeah.
And then it turns purple, which is interesting because in WandaVision, Agatha Harkness, her magic is purple.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's anything, but could just be a coincidence. But
maybe it's Barney.
Could be Barney the dinosaur. Yeah.
Yes.
Barney the dinosaur is a time traveler.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Maybe he's the variant that's killing people.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I never really trusted Barney, to be honest. So,
all this "I love you, you love me" bullshit, I don't buy it.
I don't buy it. No. So, what else happens from there on? He's talking. He's basically trying to get Loki to crack.
Yeah.
By asking questions.
He's interrogating him in this really cool interrogation room. That's an old thing, and he's also why he's there. He's got soda, and he's drinking Josta soda, which was a short-lived soda in the 90s. So yeah.
See, that's what I would use if I had, I'm not even kidding. If I had time travel abilities, I would totally just use them to buy products that are no longer available anymore that I used to like.
Yeah, it's just makes you wonder, because my thing is too. It's Josta was in the 90s, and when was the last time we were in the 90s in a Marvel movie? And it was Captain Marvel. So I don't know if there's any connection, but it makes you wonder, because Josta was one of the first energy drinks. It was made by Pepsi.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was kind of I don't know, almost like a cola flavored weird, It was a soft drink brand produced by the PepsiCo, and the first energy drink ever introduced in the major U.S. beverage company. By a major U.S. beverage company. It was marketed as high energy drink with guarana and caffeine. Yeah.
Guarana. Mm-hmm. So basically the same thing that 5 Hour Energy is made out of.
Yeah. Yeah, and it appears in episode 1 of Loki. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was available for 4 years between 1995 and 1999.
Mm.
So that's kind of interesting. I just find little things like that kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's drinking the Josta, and he's showing Loki basically his life and events that are happening to him on this projector thing. that looks all old, but then when it projects on the screen, you get like this really cool like image where you don't see the background, just the foreground of people, which I kind of thought was cool, and you get these different events from his life. So what all was he showing him?
Pretty much everything. I mean, like, when he accidentally leads his mother to her death, which he didn't know he was doing. He thought he was actually protecting her. And he's, pretty much asking, to go back and, save her. And Mobius is like, no, that's what's supposed to happen. It will always happen that way. And it shows, him, fighting off Thanos and getting his neck snapped, basically, with one hand.
Yeah, I mean,
a bunch of others too, probably.
So he kind of sees how he sees the arc of his character throughout the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And we also did see a scene prior to that too, where he showed him where he was on an airplane.
Oh yeah,
and we find out he was D.B. Cooper, the notorious plane hijacker, who is the only hijacker in U.S. history to not a plane hijacker, that is, to not be caught. So
right, and it's the reason why is because he got sucked back up like by the rainbow or whatever back to
and he did it all because he lost a bet with Thor.
Right, you have no idea what that bet entailed or why it would result in him stealing money from an airplane, but.
It's just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's D.B. Cooper, which is interesting. Oh, boy.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fun they're having with this show so far. It's really cool. So, yeah, we go through the arc of his character throughout the Marvel movies. Like you said, we did see the death of Frigga, his adopted mother. The Minuteman / woman that apprehended Loki at the beginning of the show comes in to basically argue with Mobius about the fact that that he's trying to basically save Loki from being basically eliminated,
Right.
What did they call it in the show? They were like,
I forgot the name. I forgot the word they used. Something, but
I think it was like reset or something.
Reset, or basically, I think they killed that one guy though because he didn't have a ticket.
I think they still called it resetting him.
Resetting the timeline, because of the whole multiverse thing or whatever.
Oh, did we mention? Okay, I don't think we did. I've been thinking about this show so much, so I forget what I've said on here and what I have been thinking about. So the during that missed minute thing that we talked about, they talked about the multiverses and how it led to a time of madness, which is interesting because Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is the name of the next Doctor Strange movie to come out next year.
Right, exactly.
So yeah. I'm pretty sure they used that word on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And that script is also being written by Michael Waldron, who wrote this. So that's kind of interesting too. Okay, so
we're probably gonna see at the end of the series or season that the multiverse is probably gonna get opened up again, probably, or something like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this and then we've got No Way Home coming out, Spider-Man, which is supposed to open up some of the multiverse as well. So I think we're going to have a lot of multiverse openings soon. I mean, there probably won't. I mean, obviously, I doubt there'll be any kind of mention or anything of it in Black Widow, but you never know.
Right? Yeah.
Which hopefully we can go see and then cover for this podcast if you guys would like us to.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yes, because theaters are opening up and everything.
Yep. Finally.
Yes.
After 15 months of
Is that all it was?
Well,
it felt
necessary, but still.
Felt like 15.
What's that?
Felt like 15 years.
Right. Yeah. I know. Totally.
So, anyways,
the goats.
Anyways, do you want to take a quick break and we'll finish the plot here, Matt?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah. Don't want to get off too much on any tangents here, folks. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
What is Gen X? What is the silent generation? What do generations have in common? Hi, I'm Trish the Dish from the Gen X Voice podcast, and I invite you to listen to conversations I have with folks from different generations, backgrounds, beliefs, and experiences in an attempt to see what connects rather than divides us. Even though Gen X has been called slackers, Karens, or not mentioned at all in some cases, we are the bridge generation, so I feel compelled to do my part to destroy ageism by bringing all these voices together. And, as a bonus, each guest gets to answer some 80s questions at the end of each show. So download and listen to Gen X Voice today on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And let's see how much we have in common after all.
Hi, this is Catherine, host of a new fashion podcast, The Real Fashion School Dropout. Join me as I interview guests every week in the fashion and beauty space, and we gossip on all things fashion and beauty, and even get into some personal stories of their journey in the industry. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. Hope to see you there.
And we are back.
Back.
We are still on this timeline here that we're talking about the Loki episode 1, Glorious Purpose. So, all right. So this minute man / woman who tried to stop Loki in the beginning came in, as I was saying, and basically tried to interrupt the whole interrogation that Mobius was doing with him. And while this happens, Loki escapes. And there's this little device that they have that can basically set them back and move the person that's wearing the collar back, like, a few seconds in time.
Yeah.
And Loki kind of pickpocketed that from Mobius. So he was able to, like, blip himself out of there. And around the place. And when he first arrived and had to give up the Tesseract, he encountered a gentleman at the desk, played by Eugene Cordero, Pillboy for life, man. And from The Good Place. That's who that was. Yeah. If you have not watched The Good Place...
Pillboy.
If you have not watched The Good Place, I highly recommend it. And I think this show, in its way, is actually kind of slightly influenced by The Good Place in certain aspects.
Yeah.
And then seeing Eugene Cordero in there, who I love Eugene Cordero. He's like a great, comedic talent. Very underrated, and I think he's going to start to be bigger and bigger. It's cool to see him in this project. His name was Gary, I think. What was it? It was something. I'm trying to remember.
I forgot his name.
I gotta look him up now. It was Casey, not Gary. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Casey. I don't know why I was thinking Gary. Might just be that I watched a SpongeBob movie yesterday with my great niece, and SpongeBob's pet snail is named Gary. So that might be why. Who knows? Yeah. And anyways, the Minuteman that we were talking about earlier, the woman is like named Hunter B-15. Okay, so just letting you know the character's name, played by Wunmi Mosaku I am probably butchering her name, and I am really sorry for that. I don't know how to pronounce people's names, and I'm apologizing for that ahead of time. You know, this Owen Wilson plays Mobius.
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I doing that one right?
Owen Wilson. Yeah.
Huh.
That's what his name is.
It's Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
Oh, Owen Wilson. There we go. I got it. I sounded it out.
You got it. Yep.
Yay me. So, there we go. Anyways, it's Tom Hiddleston. Is that right?
I don't know.
Okay. Anyways, so Tom Hiddleston. Anyways, so we've got Loki escaping, and when he does, he goes out to that person Casey, who's like pushing like a mail cart sort of thing around the offices there, and inside the drawer, the Tesseract's there because he asks for the little blue cube back, and inside there's a bunch of like important things from like human history in there, as well as a bunch of random Infinity Stones. So people were often wondering like how Marvel could top the Infinity Stone thing, the whole Infinity Saga. I think they just did it here by making the Infinity Stones useless.
Right.
So because they're literally paperweights in this world.
Yeah. Well, they're probably like used up from different, timelines or whatever, so they don't really have any, power here or whatever.
But you also have like
which then again, though,
there was other things in there too, like a Honus Wagner baseball card, which is in mint condition, and the only known Honus Wagner card that we have now is like the most expensive baseball card in existence. So you had stuff like that in there.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
Huh. So what else happens here after that? He escapes, and what happens there?
He shows him that, basically Loki's kind of getting depressed here because, he sees like all the stuff that's supposed to have power doesn't really have any power here at all. So he's kind of just holding the Tesseract kind of in his hand. That's just not really, doing anything or whatever. And then, kind of finally breaks down and because earlier, Mobius was, asking him like, why, do you enjoy hurting people? Do you enjoy killing people and stuff like that? And he finally kind of breaks down and says, he doesn't really enjoy it, just that he has to do it because it's all part of the illusion of power, because that's kind of what he accused the whole time variance place is all an illusion, basically. And he kind of finally gets in the crack a little bit, just sort of admitting that he's got, all these frailties and he's not really, as strong as he portrays himself to be and all that kind of stuff. And then we finally get revealed that the variant that they're looking for is another version of Loki that's been killing all of these Minutemen all throughout history. And then they show some oil field in like the 1800s in Oklahoma. And, there's like holding like this little lantern and just like sets the whole place on fire, killing all the Minutemen. So that's what we find out. Find out that the bad guy or woman, because there's also a female Loki in one of the, versions of Loki in the comic books. So we could actually see a female Loki here as the quote villain. Yeah. Or who knows? Maybe the time variants are the real villains. Maybe
the antagonist, or whatever it is. Yeah, the antagonist to the people we know so far. Because the thing is,
right?
Yeah, because in writing, your hero could be your antagonist.
Right. Exactly.
The good guy could be the antagonist.
Who knows?
Yeah. So.
Right, because who knows? Maybe the time variants are the ones, or TVAs, the ones that maybe created the whole problem in the first place in order to condense everything into a singular, universe, to make it easier to, track or whatever. So who knows? But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. The be interesting. Because we'll get to some speculation later, but I have some theories about this stuff too. So we'll see. Okay. So, do you want to take another break here, Matt, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about some of that trivia and our reactions and theories?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Good.
Need a new podcast to listen to? Well, why not check out the Super Podcast from the Super Network at supermarcy.com, where we discuss films and pop culture, and we do monthly fan-voted commentaries. We are available on all major podcasting platforms.
And we are back. Okay, Matt. So I forgot to ask you at the beginning of the episode, what was your general feeling about this episode?
I really liked it. It kind of flew by. It was almost 50 minutes long, but it didn't really seem like it was that long. So, well, maybe that's because the flow of time, is different, whatever from there. So, maybe that's why they did that. But
maybe when you're watching it, everything's at 1/16 of a.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, this seemed more of it was
maybe it's
150%.
Oh, okay, so it's maybe it's 160.
Yeah.
Time.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm bad with math, man.
Kind of had the. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I think it was actually my favorite of the Marvel premieres so far on Disney Plus. I mean, I think my favorite Disney Plus, my favorite Disney Plus premiere is still The Mandalorian, but this is still good, so it's just that's just my own personal thing. Because I live in a galaxy far, far away. In my mind. So here's some trivia from the Internet Movie Database about this episode. You ready for this, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay. The TVA sets were purposely designed to look like a stereotypical government office space from the 1960s and 1970s, right down to the usage of typewriters, old-style film reels, etc. from that era. As the series depicts, it turns out Loki was the infamous D.B. Cooper. Cooper was the alias of an airline hijacker who demanded $200,000 in ransom from the U.S. government, having passed a note to a stewardess that he had a bomb in his suitcase, and then parachuted out of the back of the plane while still in midair. Just like Loki in the series, Cooper was said to have worn dark sunglasses, a well-tailored suit, and was never caught. One difference in the series, however, it depicts the events of actually occurred in the pouring rain. Yeah. Oh, actually, the actual events occurred during the pouring rain, but in the series it didn't, I should say. Okay.
Yeah.
At one point, while trying to escape, Loki threatens an office worker by saying, "I'll gut you like a fish, Casey." This is a reference to Scream in 1996, in which a girl named Casey receives the same threat.
Right.
Yeah. It was funny, too, because Casey's like, "What's a fish?" He didn't even understand it.
So, he doesn't know, yeah.
In the Time Court, Loki passes a mural with a painting of a group of people. The man in the front looks a whole lot like a young Stan Lee. The Jasta soda Agent Mobius drinks in Time Theater 5 is one of the earliest energy drinks sold by PepsiCo from 1995 to 99, as we've already told. It was discontinued with no clear explanation why. That's interesting. That might be why they chose that specifically, because it was discontinued with no clear explanation.
Right.
Maybe it was a time variance.
Yeah, maybe. Then they got to keep all the bottles.
Yeah. Tom Hiddleston recommended adding Odin telling his sons he loves them from Thor Ragnarok to the Time Theater.
Mm-hmm.
In the evidence cart pushed by Casey is as I've said before, a T206 Honus Wagner baseball card. While Wagner was a record-setting baseball player for the Pittsburgh Pirates in his own right, this card is also famous. Fewer than 200 were printed from 1909 to 1911 by the American Tobacco Company before Wagner insisted they stop making his card. Since then, this rare collectible has earned as much as $3 million at auction, and is regarded now as the third most valuable baseball card in existence. Used to be the number one, I remember years ago. The end of the tape of Loki's life has ETH616 written on it. Earth 616 is the main universe of the Marvel Comics. Kate Herron took care to showcase the Time Theater video of Loki's life, not as a simple montage, but as a play with actions and consequences. The conspiracy theory of Loki being the criminal D.B. Cooper as a way to pay homage to a viral fan theory that Don Draper from Mad Men was destined to become Cooper. And Michael Waldron, who wrote this show, has stated in interviews that Mad Men is his favorite TV show of all time. So, this scene was also meant to provide an example of a moment where the Time Variance Authority might have intervened in his life, but did not. The opening scene from Avengers Endgame was edited to the opening scene in this show, not from Endgame. Just letting you know, the opening scene that took the characters from Endgame back to 2012 was edited to show it from Loki's perspective. So there were different shots than there were in the movie. The Time Theater sequence was inspired by the interfaces in Minority Report. The D.B. Cooper scene, though it appears as a flashback, was shot at full ratio since it was an original scene not seen before. Loki calls the TVA a nightmare, which Mobius calls another department, which he is willing to burn down. This refers to Nightmare, the ruler of dreams in the Marvel Comics, an enemy of Doctor Strange. One of the structures in the TVA has T-282 written on it. This refers to the Mighty Thor 282, which featured Immortus, an incarnation of the time-traveling villain Kang the Conqueror. So, the title of this episode, Glorious Purpose, was Loki's catchphrase during the Avengers movies. We also hear him repeat this phrase along with some of his other various movie dialogue throughout the episode, fittingly as this version of Loki had just come out of the end of Avengers 2012. Alright, so, what theories, if any, do you have, Matt, for the future of the show? Or speculation?
I think that somehow the multiverse is going to open back up. I don't know how, but I got a feeling that that's going to happen. I think Loki's probably going to, I don't know, like, someone said, I don't know if it was New Rockstars or one of the channels on YouTube, that when Loki said "you are not a god," it almost looked like he was looking like away from Thanos, like he was almost looking towards like himself. So maybe that Loki already went through the process that he's currently going through right now, so that when he gets to that point, it's pretty much Loki from 2012, like basically the whole time loop thing, you know, like
that. I don't know, but that would be something that they have to have had set up.
That could be a far-fetched one.
Yeah, I think that's probably just reaching, but that's just my guess. I don't know. But what else do you got? Anything?
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, that's pretty much